Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Lab Research here on the Draft Lab YouTube channel. I'm your host Josh Phillips, aka J2S Josh. I'm surrounded by most of the Draft Lab here. For those of you who don't know, we're an elite team of limited players who have all been ranked number one on Arena with a plethora of other accomplishments as well. For example, Icky has the highest win percentage at trophy rate of all the top best of one players. That's right, higher than Sand Black, Nami, Cord, etc., with a very large sample size. Floridamon, who's in a meeting right now, is the all-time 17 Lance Trophy leader. Eagles played in the World Cup, always has one of the top win percentages, best of three. DeForest played multiple Pro Tours and is always in the running for number one. To Jordan here is one of the very few people to finish a season as number one and number two. I've qualified for a ton of Pro Tours, Nationals, and even Worlds, etc. Probably before some of you were even born, because, yeah, I'm a boomer. I know. So, you might say that we have an idea of what we're talking about here. Today, we're going to be discussing Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty. So, we'll kick it off with our impressions of the format, starting off with Eagle. Go ahead.
Yo, all. So far, I can say that I've been enjoying the Kamigawa. Comparing to the other sets, I think it has like a lot of things that the others didn't. Like, of course, the draft is like complex on its own way. Gameplay is complex because of ninjutsu and other stuff. But comparing it to, I don't know, other ones, I think it's in my top three for sure. Like for me, it was Zendikar before every other set, but now I think it's like Kamigawa or Zendikar. I think it's kind of close. The thing that I kind of don't like in this set comparing to the other, I guess we kind of got spoiled with the Crimson WoW, is that there isn't like a lot of way of avoiding the flood when it does happen. But still, like the gameplay is like super complex. There is a lot of tough decisions to be made. The drafts are kind of fun on their own way. And like the maybe best thing about this set is that like it feels like that every archetype is kind of good, and that there isn't maybe the best archetype like there was in AFR Ragdos, for example. So far, I think we're gonna enjoy until the set does end.
Yeah, it's a really good set. I mean, I think it'll go down as a all-timer in my opinion. I've got it in the top 5 all-time, I think. Uh, any format you can play, like all the archetypes are pretty viable and competitive. You can get really creative with your mana bases and splashing, and or you can keep it as simple as monocolor decks are perfectly viable. So yeah, it's a great set.
I don't like it.
No?
Nope, I do not. Not a fan.
Interesting.
I like every Dave Humphries set, and I think that this is one of the best as well. It also reminds me of Mirrodin with just the plethora of artifacts. So I've been in love with this set. It's been my favorite in a long time.
Do you really not like it?
Yeah, it's okay, but it's not. It doesn't really do it for me. You know what I mean?
What doesn't do it?
I don't get. I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things that bothers me is we just came off a set where everybody complained about the bombs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
oh yes.
So you had all those bombs there, and that bothered everyone, all the rare bombs. But now they're uncommons. Like, think of how bad like Behold is, and then people have 3 of them in their deck. Like, what? Is that fun for anybody? I mean, I played Behold into Meshi, and I felt bad for my opponent. I wanted to write them an I'm sorry card, send them some gifts, be like, dude, I didn't mean to do it to you like that. But it was dirty.
I mean, yeah, but that's a sequence of multiple cards compared to a Dreadfast Demon or Dreadfeast.
The last one was Tameshi. That's a rare.
Right. No, but I mean, but the whole fact of Behold, like, how good is that card?
Is it better than Dreadfeast Demon, though? No. I don't think so. It doesn't end the game on the spot.
But it changes games so quickly. And how much different is it when somebody just plays turn 2 Tech Wrecker?
I prefer when the uncommons are the super powerful cards, though, because it's like everyone has a bit more access to them. And like, sometimes you do run into the person with 7 of them. But I like to have some bombs of my own. So, I've had more Beholds than Dreadfeast Demons, that's for sure.
Yeah, and one of maybe the bigger things about this set compared to the others, feels like removals do deal with all the bombs. Like you did say Behold, but there are like decent amount of enchantment removals that can just kill the Behold, and then the Behold is not an issue. So, like comparing to the not the AFR, the previous one, Crimson WoW, like you have one turn to kill the Dreadfast Demon, and there weren't many things that can actually kill it. So
Well, it's pretty similar with Behold, isn't it? I mean, you kind of have to kill it before they get the value out of it. Otherwise, it's already did the job, right?
The thing I want to say is that there are a lot of commons and uncommons that are actually really good removals. And I think that there is a lot of room to interact between the cards. And that one, if you do, I'm talking about the best of three, you can actually know that they have it. And then maybe board in, I don't know, Repel, which you would maybe not play main board in best of one. Like you can maybe play two of them just to have a way of dealing with the Behold. So for me, it feels like that there is a lot of room to add the cards from the sideboard, or I don't know, maybe some cards that wouldn't be playable are playable here because of that.
I mean, yeah, I get Josh's point. But there is the accessibility from everyone, and if everyone's drafting appropriately, the likelihood of you getting 3 Beholds is pretty unlikely. I mean, it can happen. It's I've certainly had decks with multiple bomb uncommons, but that's likely due to the table not respecting them enough. But deep in the format, assuming you're at a good table, like everyone should have an appropriate amount of uncommon bombs, I would think.
Yeah, you always do a speculation pick Behold if you see it early on. Like maybe I'm gonna end up in blue, so you should not be seeing 3 of them.
I've had 3 multiple draft. It was like twice in the same week. I had 3.
Talking about Ekil opponents, Ekil drafters on your seat, man.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that is a problem. The uncommon power level is pretty strong, but even so, the format's like just still really good.
I think
the problem gets if those uncommons aren't that strong, the good stuff decks would be way less powerful, and then like you lose some archetypes. I think in this format, if they print like uncommons, like same power level as other cards.
I think it would be better if it was played in pod. I think that would lessen that effect.
I mean, that's probably the same for every set, though.
Yeah, Magic is always better if you play it against your pod rather than like random people that do get 3 Beholds and you were just like struggling for a playable deck.
We're all in agreement on pod drafting being the best way.
All right, so then we're going to move to talking about sagas. I'm going to go ahead and kick this one over to Icky.
Sure. I mean, I think everyone was a little bit skeptical when the set release came out because we haven't had sagas like this before, and as many of them in a set where the backside is a creature. So, it's a lot of value for each saga individually, considering all 3 chapters for the mana cost. But, they're slow. That was a big question mark. Like, how fast will the format be? Can you punish them? You can punish them. There are decks that are fast enough to punish a turn 4 Besiege you. That might be too slow against mono red. But cards like, the uncommon ones specifically, all of those small effects, some of them are pretty large effects like Behold, but all of those effects make for pretty insane cards. I think there's only a handful of sagas that are like not good objectively, and then the majority of the rest are like range from very good to extremely good. So yeah, all the sagas are pretty solid. All the uncommon ones for the most part are like very, very powerful. It's pretty rare that you get punished too hard for not doing anything with a saga, like Besiege you or something. Where it doesn't do anything for 2 turns, but then you get, a couple free cards in the lands, and then you get a huge creature with reach. You normally are able to stabilize off them, especially, like Beholds. I mean, overall, they do a variety of things, and for the most part, all of them are very good. I don't have like too much to say about them. Other than I think there's a big question mark on them before we got to play with them, and then after seeing them, they fit really, really well in the format, and they're all very strong.
All right, looks like Benji'd like to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the fact that like the sagas that are all like very good to good, they all seem to be generating some kind of value. And one of the things that really made sagas go up for me is just the amount of different ways in the set, the different mechanics and cards that are very prevalent that allow you to get repeated value from those sagas, whether it's an enchantment from Seasons of Renewal, using geothermal kami, or even like a ninjutsu ability. There are so many different ways to get that value more than once. So the sagas just really enable you to let the draft pay off the rest of your deck.
All right, DeFore?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that like they really add complexity to gameplay because you get this confusion when to play the saga, right? You have a 2-drop and you have like the 2-drop saga, right? For instance, like a 2-drop creature, and then you have like Era of whatever Enlightenment, whatever the card is. I think it like in a lot of cases you or in most cases you would just want to play the saga out early, but you can also like fall behind if you do that, right? So you get this decision, and also like sometimes you want a ninjutsu a saga, for instance, back to your hand, and that just sets you back on tempo, and you can get punished for that. So there's a lot of complicated decisions, and I think like the sagas actually add the complexity to the set more than the ninjas do, even though the ninjas are pretty like complicated to play, but I think sagas are even more complicated.
All right. So that wraps it up. So we're going to move into color bias. DeFore, how would you like to tell us about that?
You asked the right person, right? I mean, the red was for me the first one. Like, I always look at the sleepers of the set, and red was like the most slept on color at the beginning. So it was just a matter of time, like, and people figured it out, and like we figured it out. So like, nobody thinks now that red is bad anymore. Like red is a color, but it was considered like the worst color when the set dropped, right? And I think it's still underrated. So when you read signal, like when I read signals, I usually just end up in red, because like cards get passed to me, and I end up in like an insane mono red deck, and that's basically the best red archetype right now. I think like you just want to be as mono as possible with maybe a light splash. That's the best red archetype right now, and that's how I like to draft it. And that's also one of the reasons why I got tired of the set, because like I always ended in mono red even if I wanted to stay open. Like I actively needed to like say I'm not gonna draft red if if I wanted to draft another archetype. It's just like that's how open it is. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to hear your opinion like on red right now. Do you think it's like still bad, or like are people still sleeping on it, or?
It's very table dependent. There are tables where it's just so open, it's absurd. Like you just feel bad. You're like pick 3 or 4. You're just like, oh, I can't believe I didn't jump into mono red yet. Better switch. And then there's tables where it's so dried up and overdrafted.
Yeah, the meta's been shifting a ton. Back, I don't know, say maybe 3 weeks ago, where nobody was drafting red. I think mono red is like maybe the best deck if you're the red player at the table. It's too fast for pretty much any deck to deal with. Yeah, so mono red is a very, very good deck, and I agree that it's the best red deck. But I think the meta has shifted a lot. I think people have recognized that red is good. So there was a brief while where I was trying to like force red or be red, but I would very often not end up being mono red, which leads to some like not great decks. If you don't get all like the red aggro cards and Iron Apprentices and all the good red stuff. So I think the meta shifted back to kind of where, I'm just playing whatever's open. Green's back to being like understood as a very good and deep color, but it can support so many drafters at the table because there's so few bad green cards that, I think it's very rare nowadays that I'm in mono red, but I still agree with what you said about mono red being the best red deck.
Eagle, you had something to say about this?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everybody and what they did say. The thing that I really like about the mono red is the efficiency of the removals. So like the red does want to be aggressive, and then like when you look at the removals that it does have, like you have a 1 mana shock that can be a 4 damage. 4 damage. I'm not pretty sure. I think it kills like 90% of the set. Like Circus did put a data there. But like there is like the Kami's flare that does deal 3 damage, and the most important about the 3, not 3 damage, is the 2 damage to the face, which kind of is the strategy of the mono red. So that's the thing that I really, really like when we talk about the red. Why is actually red being good at this set? Like the efficiency of the removals and actually removals playing on the gameplay of the deck that it is actually trying to do. But yeah, overall, I think the mono red is valuable strategy if there are not many people drafting it on the table. And for sure, it maybe was a bit open early on, but these days seems like everyone wants to try to make that mono red artifact deck.
All right, you guys both hit it about the same time, but we'll start off with DeFore. He's got seniority, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to add like how punishing it is if you move into red and don't like move away from it if it's not open, right? Because you just end up with even if you're like half there, it's not gonna be a real deck, like almost. Like you need to be one of the few red drafters on the table, so it just like rewards reading the table correctly. That's why what I really like about like maybe this whole format. I mean, like this is the most punishing. Mono red punishes you the most. Like drafting red punishes you the most if it's not open. Like if you draft good stuff, you can still like scrap a deck together, and it's gonna be really playable.
All right, Benji.
Yeah, I wanted to jump back to what Akil had said about the removal just really playing well in the format with like the Kami's Flare going to face when you're a very aggressive deck, and also Voltage Surge, like killing four toughness stuff. But between Iron Apprentice and Experimental Synthesizer, Voltage Snare is like premium removal and also just like an enabler for the deck for like more explosive openings, which is just wild. And I think that is one of the cards that just really is fantastic and makes the set fun to play for me.
All right. So, looks like Eagles got something else.
Yeah. I mean, it would not be fair to other colors just to talk about the red. For me, personally, I think I like to end up more in black and I guess white, green, since like it is kind of my gameplay as well, like the value stuff, good removals, and all of that. And like if I had to like, I'm not gonna compare the colors. Colors are like each to their own, and like every color is good in this set. Like I said, for me there is not a best color or the worst color. You always need to, for me at least, you need to end up in the color which is open on the table. And like I don't know. For me, when I'm trying to pick between the cards, I usually look at the old cards, look at the top cards that I would want to pick, and then compare it to the other playable cards in the pack. Like if there are a lot of red cards and there is like a single decent green one, I'm gonna take the green one over the red one. So I think like every color is good, and I think maybe I don't know. Even the other archetypes and other colors are strong.
All
Not
right.
the only mono red one.
That brings us to our approach to the drafts. Gonna go ahead and kick this one over to Benji.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue point, and I totally agree with everything that Ikio was saying. I think that one of the most important things, especially in pod drafts, but in this format in general, is when you open your pack and when you look at your first couple picks. I really want to be reading the entire pack, kind of breaking down like what kind of cards are there and looking at what might wheel, because I think this is a format that very much. If you can play, 15, 16 lands, stuff like that, like you're going to want a lot of good cards. And if you're able to kind of lock in the fact that you're going to wheel like a extra green card, 9th or 10th, because there's like 4 commons and an uncommon, they're all good green stuff. I think that's super valuable for navigating a draft. And at the same time, noting that kind of stuff really sets you up for success to pivot if like all 5 of those green cards are gone, and like the Tawashi Song Shaper has wheeled, like the red deck we were talking about before. And I think that while I am a big drafting with preferences person, I think that you do need to find the open lane in a set like Neon Dynasty.
Yeah, I agree that I don't know if it was mentioned off air or not, but the all the archetypes in this set are good. Like they're all playable. So in this set, it really rewards you for being in the open archetype for your seat. So drafting the hard way in this set, gets you the best cards of the color, and unlike other sets where certain archetypes are unplayable, even if it's open for you, your deck still is not great. This set, if you get the best cards for whatever archetype, you should be, your deck will be very, very good. Yeah, like I think early blue white people were saying was kind of unplayable or one of the weaker archetypes. And, if you are the blue white player and no one else is, your deck's going to be sick. Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback on what Benji was saying.
Yeah, I think with the blue white, it was that people early on were trying to play it as the vehicles deck before realizing that you just shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well.
That was me.
Like, you're just supposed to play the blue white as a pure value. Like, play the beholds, play the oats, just go wide enough and take the opponent with a value. The thing I want to add to this mention about the draft is I think like this set has like one thing to comparing the other is the lands. Like when you don't know what to pick, always take a haven. You cannot make a mistake by taking a haven in this set because like you always find yourself in a position where you want to splash the oath, you want to splash like a bomb you're gonna find later on, and like there are the dual lands as well. Like if you know you're in green, and there is like some playable green card, but there is like a green black land, take a green black land because like you might open the life of Toshiro and you want to end up splashing that. So that's the thing that I really, really like it. And like yet again, like there are really playable artifacts which are colorless cards, and like 99.9% Mender is gonna end up in your deck. I don't see a reason why you would not play a Mender in any deck. So like that's a really good thing about it. Like colorless cards being amazing in this set and like lands being actually a pick as well, like in Kaldheim as well, but like you don't care about the snow, you just care about the splashing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that this is a format and at draft tables that really rewards speculation, whether it be the lands or the off-color cards that are powerful. Everything is playable. Like look at the green commons, for instance, and so you do not need to worry about making playables, in my opinion.
All right, that brings us to best of 3 versus best of 1, and I'm going to throw this one to myself. Because personally, I prefer to stay in best of 3 land because it's real magic. Because there are a lot of builds. You can build anything in this format, but in my opinion, it's really kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing between red artifact decks, ninja decks, and multicolor saga decks. In best of 1, you have to build somewhere in the middle and keep a hand in the dark when you're living in a world where the hands that are great in one matchup are awful in the other. Like, this makes ninja decks top tier in best of 3 land, where they can shift towards either tempo or card advantage depending on what's needed, while game to play the majority of the games like that and knowing what hands you should keep, what you should do. But in best of 1, it's kind of Red's world, and we're just living in it. Because of the league style of play, you run into people who just got the busted mono red deck and get ran over because you kept a hand. It was insane if you were in the Saga mirror. So how are you supposed to put a read on your opponent pre-mulligan? And looking at it from that perspective, this is a much better format in best of 3 than it is in best of 1. All right. Equal?
Yeah, definitely would agree that this set is supposed to be played in best of 3. Like there are a lot of cards, like you said, that you would not put in the main board. Like for example, Lucky Offering, that I'm seeing people playing in best of 1 and trying to high roll, and they definitely do get me. Like they even splash the Lucky Offering and get me. But definitely there is a rewarding spot for people that actually take the sideboard cards and then later on find them playable. One of the things that I actually realized these days, because I was playing best of 1 trying to get a top 1200, is that some card that I really like being in the sideboard, I actually kind of want to put it into main board because that's kind of the meta in best of 1. For example, the overall I find like a lot of people playing 4 colors, green and so on, and then I found the Sentinel, the 3-mana defender, actually being great because that's a really good card to play around the Season of Renewal. And like mostly when you look at that card, that's a card that you're gonna put into a sideboard and then be happy to board it in if you see your opponent is actually doing some shenanigans with the graveyard. But like in best of 1, if I'm playing like I don't know black white or blue white and I kind of care about the artifacts, I'm gonna put it in the main board because like it's just gonna maybe shut down one of the decks or some key cards that they're actually trying to do. So yeah, definitely a lot of room for the improvement when it comes to picking the cyber cards, actually prioritizing them, and then actually getting rewarded. So definitely a best of 3 set. But a best of 1 is not bad as well. I think this set comparing to the other sets does have like decent gameplay and even in the best of 1. Like games that are actually not decided by the variants that much, I would say.
DeFore?
Yeah, I just wanted to add when you were mentioning before how many playables you get in this format, right? And what I seen people do in previous format, but it's more important right now because you get this huge pool of cards. Is like, for instance, I watched the kill so many times, or like you, Josh, or Florida Man, playing best of three and completely switching the deck. Like even like switching the two drops, for instance, like instead of 2-1s playing the 1-3s, and instead of 2-2s playing the 1-3s. And you can really do this in this format because you get so many playables. You can add like some artifacts, some like 3-3 defenders, like you were saying, and a lot of people like just sleep on that. They just see, oh, I have artifact removal, I'm gonna add this, right? But it's just like switching your deck completely, like either gear it towards like lower curve or like higher curve and more good stuff. It's a real thing in this format, and it comes more often here than in other formats, I think.
I would just say in best of one, like I feel like everything's very viable in best of one compared to like certain other sets where the slower decks are more viable in best of three than they are in best of one. In this set, it's very rare to run into like a mono red turbo deck in best of one, at least in my experience. I feel like the majority of the decks are gonna have green in them just because it's so deep, um, and like it ends up a mid range to longer games. That's not saying there's not tempo ninjas or mono red running around, but like I have no bias towards making sure I'm an aggressive deck or a slow deck in best of one, where like other sets I definitely have had that. Like I think was it AFR. I think I always wanted to be red in best of one, just because that set could be very very fast. Yeah, I feel like everything's pretty playable in this set, so I'm not like super biased towards an aggressive versus slow deck in best of one. So
Hey, Eagle, you
Yeah,
bounced up and down a little bit.
yeah. So I wanted to add that I think I might be not. Maybe this is a hot take, but I think like when it comes to best of one or best of three, like I haven't seen that many great aggressive decks in best of three because like if they are aggressive, like maybe they're gonna be artifacts most likely, and then you can have the artifact hit for 1 mana. That's like really efficient way to stop the aggressive decks. Like maybe I'm gonna add a 3/4 defender just because like it stops their whole deck and so on. But like that's the thing, like why best of one like likes playing aggressive decks, because you have that hidden factor that they actually don't know which deck they're actually up against. So I feel like in best of one it might be even better to be aggressive than grindy, but when it comes to best of three it might actually be better to grindy than aggressive, because it kind of feels it's easier to adjust to aggressive deck rather than to adjust to like a grindy deck. There isn't much you can do against a grindy deck. You're either going to be aggressive or you're going to actually try to fight against their value. And it's hard to actually be able to fight against some green value decks in this set.
I was actually looking at my event history, and it looks like I do not have a strong preference at all here on best of one or best of three. I've done like 33 drafts of one and 35 of the other. And I completely agree with Akil. Looking at like what I've drafted, I've been in like an aggressive, like red based seat a lot more in my best of one drafts on Arena than I have in my best of three drafts on Arena, where I've ended up in a lot more like green white based value piles. But at the same time, I've been doing a lot of like pod draft events and stuff like that. With like just random like streamer communities and stuff. And in those, I have ended up in a mono red seat or an aggressive deck a lot of the time. Blue red in particular, I've ended up in a lot there, which I don't end up on the arena ladder very much. And that has been kind of successful. So I think that it's something else to keep in mind.
All right, so next we have best of one meta decks. Icky, you're the guy there, right?
sure. I mean, we talked about it for a little bit already. I think everything's pretty viable for best of one. I mean, obviously the faster decks are better with the hand smoother. You can get down to like 14 lands in some certain instances. It's not uncommon to do like 15 lands with, some land cyclers or experimental frenzies or just some other ways Moon Circuit hackers, whatnot. So I mean, obviously, like blue tempo ninjas is sweet with hackers and the flying man, the 1/1 blue creature. But I mean, it's really easy for the bigger decks to turn the corner on those decks too. Like if you don't get a really aggressive start, like if they get to 6 mana and cast an Imperial Oath, like the game can end on the spot. So I wouldn't say there's any like crazy meta in best one, at least in my experience. I still stand by the notion that just drafting what's open in your seat is going to be the best. You get the best cards for you. You'll make the best deck possible, and you roll the dice just in any queue, matchup. I do think it's kind of a rock paper scissors type format, and hope you get the good matchups for your deck. So I mean, I think that the blue tempo decks and the red tempo decks are very strong, but yeah, I think anything is good if it's the right deck for your draft spot.
All right, that means we're gonna wrap this up. We're doing some P1 things. Would you guys take Green Mythic Dragon or Behold the Unspeakable?
Okay, for this one, personally, I would first look at the other, because I'm looking at them at the same level, the green one and the Behold. And then I would look at the commons and uncommons. Like, for example, if there are way better green commons and uncommons, then I actually know the people to my left are going to end up in green. Sure, I could, like, force the green. I can cut them, send them the signal. The green is not open, leave it. But, like, I think both of those cards are kind of on the same power level in a way that, like, both of them kind of ask you for some, like Behold, for example, asks you to maybe make a synergistic deck, while the green one, it is just like a pure value, right? And with that said, maybe I would actually take the Behold, because you can actually play around the card and you can maybe make some synergies with it. In a way, you can take a ninja, then you can recast it, while recasting a dragon doesn't do much. So I think that maybe Behold actually has a higher power and maybe a ceiling than the green dragon does. So, like, first of all, I will look at the pack. If the pack is the same, I think I would go for the Behold, because Behold has more flexibility. Let's say it like that.
All right, DeFore?
I just wanted to say I would go Behold. I think over all dragons, just like power wise, it's basically stronger and harder to deal with. Although like blue dragon is something special because it's so hard to deal with, and the red one because it goes into a specific archetype. Maybe if you want to hit that like target or that deck. So like I would consider those two over Behold. I think Behold is like just stronger than all the dragon and vacuum, like as a card.
Icky?
Yeah, I think Behold's probably stronger objectively, but I kind of think I would like to take the dragon. Getting into a base green allows you to play anything since it's got grafted growth and it's just the deepest color. So you're enabling yourself to go. If say you get a pack one, pick two Beholds, grab that and you can play it in green blue. If you pass the dragon, you're not you're passing a great green card that kind of closes off green a little bit. So I think I would kind of want to go dragon and then be in the deepest color.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's a wrong pick here because both cards are fantastic and they're both going to make your deck amazing. The reason that I would take Behold instead of the Green Dragon is that I think the Behold is harder to replace in the format, whereas the Green Dragon is going to go likely in a green value deck. It's going to be your closer. The good thing about the Green Dragon is when it dies, it replaces itself, so it is kind of a value engine, especially with Death Touch. You can trade with pretty much anything. But a lot of times with the green decks, I mean, I could just play Imperial Oath. I could do like a Seasons of Renewal loop. Like I'll find a way to win the game, and I don't need a dragon to win the game with a green deck. Whereas Behold is just like a very important stabilizing weapon for a lot, or not weapon, but like instrument for a lot of different decks. That's very hard to replace.
Eagle?
Yeah, I just want to add this. the good thing about this pack is that you actually know which person to your left of you is gonna be in the color, right? If you pass the Behold, they're in blue. If you pass the Dragon, they're in green, and then like it might be easier to actually know the pack two what's gonna happen. So there is actually some upside in this pack as well. If you do open the broken uncommon saga or the broken mythic.
All right. The next one, Cap Attack Wrecker or Reckoner Bankbuster. Equal?
I mean, for me, this one is easy. Like, Up Attack Record is amazing, but like, colorless card that goes in any deck, it's pure value, and it actually I'm not quite sure, but I think it goes in any archetype. Like in Rakdos, it's the treasure. It makes you a treasure. It makes you 1/1. It's actually a vehicle as well. Like Okiba loves this one. Like it being a 4/4 menace out of nowhere is great. Like it is just like a card that makes your deck easier to build because it's a colorless and it will go in any deck. But yet again, like if you're comparing one to another, Cap Attack Record does kill this one. But like we are not comparing it. We're just saying it like you need to take one. I think it's better to take a colorless card that is pure value and goes in any deck. Amen.
DeFore?
Yeah, I think colorless is the key there, right? It just leaves you completely open.
Yeah.
Well, I think Kappa actually, like once you're in green, you would rather have Kappa than the Bankbuster because it's just like it's a card that you never lets you fall behind, right? And it deals with even like the best cards in the format, right?
Yeah. Eagle?
Yeah. I think for me, like if I was in green and there is yet again a Kappa and the vehicle, it would depend on which green deck I'm actually trying to make. If I'm going for the value one, I'm liking the Bankbuster. If I'm maybe going the cruel one, which is maybe aggressive one, maybe then I would like the Kappa more. But I think you always take the Kappa. I think it's a mistake. Not the Kappa, my bad. Always take the Bankbuster. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it is actually correct to take if you're in green to take the Kappa there.
Benji?
Pick one, pack one. It's definitely a bank buster for me, and it's just the colorless debate, like the fact that it goes in 100% of your decks, and it's a fantastic card. If we had taken the green dragon and this was pick two, and we just have a green dragon in our pool, I might actually take the Cap Attack Wrecker.
I can't imagine getting past a pack that still had Bankbuster and Attack Wrecker in it.
It had Behold. It had the Behold.
Yeah, they took the whole.
Icky.
Yeah, colorless card, and I think it's probably just objectively stronger than the Cap Attack Wrecker. Cap Attack Wrecker is amazing when it works, but I've had numerous times when it's not that great. You can't ninjutsu it. It's fine. Like it's always good, but when it does its thing, it's amazing. But there's certainly been times when I've had it and it doesn't do its thing.
And then one more. Besiege Saga or Life of Toshiro?
That's a Life of Toshiro for me. I love Life of Toshiro.
Yep. Icky?
I like Besiege Saga. I think they're similar power levels, but yeah, I'm a sucker for the Besiege. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just love that saga.
Okay, I guess we have to start off that that's actually not possible. You cannot have two sagas in one pack. Foil. Yeah, okay. In real life, maybe. On the arena, no. But
Magic Online.
Pack one, pick one. If it was possible, let's say it was. I think that I'm kind of biased to Life of Toshiro. I think that card is just devastating when somebody plays it on turn 2 and kills something. And then, like, Boseiju, you actually have time to deal with that one. Well, but you don't have maybe time to recover when they do that big tempo swing when they play it on turn 2 or, like, later in the game, +2/+2. And, like, comparing, I don't know, green or black, I think the black is a color that I would like to end up more. Because, like, I don't know, for me, it seems like I mean, I'm not biased to any color, but like I have just the preference, and I think the black might be better than the green in this set.
All right, DeFore?
I just wanted to say how like archetype dependent is like what you play against, right? And the upside of Life of Toshiro is like maybe better than Beside You, right? Because Beside You still at the end dies to like a removal. While Life of Toshiro can grant you 2 creatures or even 3 creatures or 3 cards of value if you play against the right deck. but like it's never gonna be bad. That's one thing. Well, Besage can actively be bad against like some decks, but it's like then it's also a thing like in best of 3. I think you'd rather go with a stronger power level card, so with Besage, like just because it grants you a bigger creature at the end of the day. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree that they just like attack different decks. And I mean, what was it? The Besiju in particular. You're getting 2 forests, of course, but if you're going to play a long game like a Green Mirror or whatnot, like those are cards, and like the Life of Tashiro can get you a card, but sometimes the Life of Tashiro doesn't actually get you more than just a 2/3. So Besiju is really great, and now I'm starting to doubt my original thought, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, before I call out equal, it depends on what you're playing against. Because if you're playing against mono red, or if you are playing mono red, you never want to see life hit the other side of the table. But if they hit Besiege you, you're like, ha, I kill you next turn.
Yeah.
Right, equal?
Yeah, one thing that I want to add on this topic is, like, if you're taking a card, let's say, early in the pack, Life of Toshiro is a card you actually are going to try to splash, while the Boseiju is a card you're not going to splash. Like, you're not going to add 3 forests in the deck and just to have an XX reach creature. So I found myself, when I'm doing the Seal deck doctors, and I see Life of Toshiro in the Cyber, let's try to, like, put it in the deck if you can. Like, if you're already splashing black, add that card in. Like, it's just, like, really good at any point of the game and really great early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, both have their strengths and weaknesses, matchup dependent. So I've had more experiences where Life with Toshiro doesn't do much besides gain 4 life, which is not nothing. But then by the time it flips, it's a 2/3, and it doesn't really matter. Um, yeah, there's a high ceiling for Life Toshiro, a higher ceiling, definitely. Um, I've just had Besiegers be, the forests are cards. Obviously, it's a very slow saga, but yeah, it's matchup dependent, and there's a very high ceiling for Life of Toshiro, but a very low floor.
All right, the 4?
Yeah, this on the splashing life of the share part. I'm not that high on that. Like to be fair, if you have the mana, you do it, but it really loses impact late in the game. So it's like you're literally almost splashing a 2/3 at one point in the game. So that's a bit iffy in my opinion. It's matchup dependent, obviously. Sometimes you want to do that, but also the opponents 1/1s lose value. Like I don't know on turn 7 when you're gonna get the mana for Life of Toshiro sometimes.
All right, equal?
Yeah, would agree with the 4. Like, you don't want to splash it in every deck. It depends on the deck, and, like, depends what is the plan of the deck. Of course, like, if you're like I said, if you're already splashing the black, why not add the Life of Toshiro? Like, that's the thing that I do like. But I'm not saying that, like, every deck is supposed to play that card. Like, if you find it in the draft, like, you see it, you pick it, you play it. No, it's not supposed to be in every deck. But if you have the option, and maybe even, like, if your deck is lacking the power, like, or removals, that card is maybe fine to splash. But overall, I think the consistency is better than the power in most of the sets. And, like, this is like maybe a perfect set, for example, where people are always going for the power rather than consistency. But I think the consistency is much better in this set.
All right, thanks for coming, everybody. We'll go ahead and start doing other videos on here. So we're out.
See ya.